Sup guys, how's it going, and welcome to another Gamertech review. Now in this review we're going to be taking a look at a graphics card by MSI. Now they did send it down to me, so thank you guys very much. And I must say as well, this is the first graphics card I've received to review, so I'm very much looking forward to testing it, checking it out, and just, yeah, having a general play with it. Now the card we're going to be looking at is the GTX 960. Now there are three different versions of this card, but the one in particular that we have is the Gaming 2G version. Now I have actually had a run-in with the Twin Frozen cooling before, and that was on an MSI R9280 graphics card, and I must admit that did fare pretty well when I ran it through a few benchmarks. So I have got high hopes for the 960. I think the Frozen cooling will do its job, as I've seen it perform on the previous card, and as it's brand new out on the market at time of video, yeah, I am looking forward to it. So without further ado, let's just have a little close-up at the box. On the front of the box, we actually have a fair bit of information about the graphics card. It is a part of the MSI Gaming G series and is also recommended by Fnatic, which is quite cool. On the bottom left side, it shows us that it has the Twin Frozen thermal design cooling, along with 2GB of GDDR5 RAM, it's PCIe 3, and this is also the overclocked edition. And then on the right side, it shows us the NVIDIA features that come with the graphics card, including Game Stream, GameWorks, G-Sync, and also DirectX 12. The edges of the box are actually quite plain, but on the back of it we have a whole host of information in regards to what this graphics card is able to do for you. Just a quick rundown of those. It includes the Torx fan, the Super SU pipe, the Zero Frozer feature with the cooler, and also the gaming app, which includes a one-click performance game which helps to keep your eyes fresh. Along with those main bits, we also have a list of features you can see here, so this card is brimming with extra technology. Just to the right side of the features, it shows us the minimum system requirements you're going to need. Now that's going to include a PCI Express compliant motherboard with a 16x graphics slot, an 8-pin PCIe power connector, a minimum 400 watt or greater power supply, and an operating system of Windows 8.1, 8, Windows 7, Vista or XP. Now none of these are going to be an issue in the rig that I'm going to be testing this graphics card in. However, if you're looking to put this in an older PC, then it's something to bear in mind. So that is the box out of the way for the graphics card. Let's just take it out and have a little look at what comes inside. Now the box itself is cardboard, but it's wrapped in this kind of plasticky exterior, which adds value definitely to the packaging. As I found with most MSI cards, they kind of come in this type of packaging where you've got the outer cardboard ring, you've then got this little package here which includes all of the extra little bits like driver installation discs, leaflets, and a couple of little cable accessories, and then underneath this bit of foam here is where the actual graphics card itself lives. But before we get into that, let's just see what accessories we get included. So on the front we have this nice MSI logo on there, Gaming G Series. There we are, and as expected, first of all we can see we have got a driver disc included. So with this you'll be able to install the driver that was up to date at point of the card release, but it's always quite handy to go onto the video website and download the most up-to-date driver that there is, because most of the time these things are just out of date by a little bit, so keep that in mind. You also get utilities on this disc which you can install as well, and usually those things kind of take into account stuff like fan control, temperature control, and things like that, so we will be having a little look at that software. The next thing we can find in here is a user manual for the graphics card, so that's going to be a quick start guide letting us know how to install it and a variety of other things. However, we know how to install graphics cards, so we can put that to the side just for now. Next we have a MSI Gaming products, and that's going to go through a whole selection of different teams that they sponsor, top choices, and also a number of different products on the back there, which is quite cool. Handy. That is a lovely motherboard. Carrying on our adventure, we have a 6-pin PCIe power to 8-pin included, so if you do have only a 6-pin connector, then you will be able to connect the graphics card to your computer. This graphics card does only require a single 8-pin connection, so you do have all the cables extra that you need. I don't believe this includes a Molex adapter though, which is a little bit of a shame. It would be nice to have that, but then also if you are looking to have a card like this, it would be good for you to have a more up-to-date power supply with the correct connections. And last but not least, we have a VGA to DVI connector. So if you do have a bit of an older monitor and an older cable, then you'll be able to connect it to this graphics card just by using this little adapter. So all of these bits out of the way, let's just get over to the card. And here we have it. This is the moment of truth. Will it be pretty? Will it be good? It'll all be revealed underneath this foam cover. Well, kind of covered. It is in an anti-static bag, but you can kind of get the general midst of it. But let's just get it out the bag. Oh, it's exciting. Are you ready, guys? It's very, very, very pretty. Right, here we go. Oh, look at that. Look how pretty that is. I must say, like, MSI graphics cards do have a knack for being awesomely attractive, pretty things. Like the fans on there, if you give them a little bit of a spin, the flow on it feels amazing. Like sometimes with fans you can press and you kind of feel a little bit of pushing back on your finger, but with these fans, the bearings are so fluid and smooth. It's very, very pretty. So we've got the two fans at the top there, and they've got this cool feature which is called Zero Frozer. So what that does, it means the graphics card will passively cool itself with the fans off while the computer's idling, so you don't have extra noise and you don't use extra power when you don't need to. Now that's a really cool feature, and then the fans will kick in when the card starts to get up in the temperatures. If we spin it over to the side, we can have a little look at what connections we get included with the graphics card. Now in this one in particular, we have a DVI port here, then we have a display port, HDMI, and then two more display ports. Now I would have liked it personally to have mini display ports on there, because currently that's what my computer consistently uses. But it's not overly a big deal for me. All I'm going to do is use the DVI port instead and test it with the one monitor, so I won't have my multiple monitor setup on this, purely for the fact that I haven't got any display port to mini display port adapters. So it would have been nice actually if they'd come included in the box, but hey ho. There we have the back plate of the card. Again, very pretty. It's a nice clean layout, and I do like this nice smooth black finish that they've put on the back there. It definitely seems to add more value, because usually this is the side that you get to see in the case. That, and of course this front end bit here where we can see the heat pipes. We've got a nice MSI logo there, and I do like these torque screws up in the top. Now one thing to quickly note again with this is you've got the single 8-pin block connector on the corner here, but also if I flip it on the side and you look at it that way, you see that the cooler itself comes up from the top of the PCI mount. Now in pretty much every case that's not going to be an issue, but if you're running a small case or a tight case and you're very, very, very conscious of sizing in there, it's definitely something to take into account, because it's coming up probably about 15 millimeters. We also have our little SLI slot at the top here, so you just remove this plastic cover and then you can SLI it up if you have another 960, and then the bottom PCIe slot is covered up by this nice plastic tab here. So everything is nice and safe, and it's okay, like it's all packaged up nice and safely. So now, with the card out of the box, it's time just to install it and then get to benchmarking. Now there's no doubt about it, the GTX 960 Gaming G2 graphics card is very, very pretty. However, looks will only get it so far, but it needs to perform as well. Now in all of the benchmarking tests I did, it was running with an Intel i7-4790K running at 4 GHz stock, and also had 16 GB of DDR3 1333 RAM. Now the first benchmark I did was to get an idea of how well the card was generally going to perform. Now in order to do that, I used PC Mark and ran the Firestrike benchmark, and the results I must say I was pretty damn happy with. It received a PC Mark score of 6679, which is better than 69% of other tests at the moment. Now to be fair, for, you know, a decent mid-range card, that isn't too bad of a result, so I am very, very happy with that. However, the benchmarking didn't stop there. Now the next test I wanted to do was to test how good the cooling system was on there. The test itself lasted 15 minutes, however I ran it back to back 6 times, so it lasted a full hour and a half, so I could get a really good idea of how hot the card would get. Now the maximum temperature the card went up to was 62 degrees. Now I was really quite surprised at that. 62 degrees seemed like a quite low temperature for the graphics card to get up to. But then also the next thing I saw was quite surprising as well. Now when I was doing the test, I had Afterburner open so I could see how hot the card was getting, and I also had the side of the case off so I could just kind of check on the fans to make sure that everything was hunky-dory. And what I found was that the maximum speed the fans were actually running was 31%. Now at this speed the fans were absolutely silent, like you couldn't hear them in the case at all, which is great if you're looking for a really quiet running graphics card. Now the other interesting thing I saw with the cooling is it wasn't running at 31% all the time, it would actually bounce between 0 and 31%. Now because the card has got that Zero Frozer feature built into it too, it allows the card to passively get up to a certain temperature, which in this case was 62 degrees, before the fans actually came on and started cooling the card. It would then actively keep the card at 60 degrees with the fans bouncing between 0 and 31% to maintain that temperature. Now that is awesome, like I was really surprised at that. I thought that was a really, really cool feature that they built into the card. The fact that the fans will stay off until they need to be used, it really does keep the volume down of the case. Now I did also want to see how loud the fans would get and how good they would cool the graphics card at like a higher load. So I put the fans onto 100% whilst doing the burn-in test and checked out the temperatures. And the graphics card then maxed out at 36 degrees C. Granted, the fans were audible at this point, but it wasn't up until about 80 degrees which you could really hear them actually making a difference. Everything before that time, it was just kind of like nothing. It was a null factor. But even when the fans were running at 100%, it wasn't a hugely distracting noise compared to some of them out there. Like at the minute in my case, I'm running an R7990. Now that's got 6 GB of RAM and 2 GPUs on there, and the fan cooling on it, I must admit, is quite pants. It doesn't really keep the card cold, and also it runs very loud too, so it's kind of worst of everything. However, with this card, it keeps it quiet and keeps it cold. It's just great for everything. Now the last test I did was to see how it performed in game. Now this is going to be probably the most important test of them all, because we know now the PC Mark score and also how hot the card will get. Now in order to test this, I ran Battlefield 4 running at 1920 by 1080, so full HD, and had everything on ultra settings. Now you already know how hot the card got during this test. It had a maximum temperature of 62, but the average temperature of 60 degrees, and that's because of the fans turning off and on and kind of cooling it as much as it needs to. But frame rate, that's what we want to know. The frames per second, what did it give us? Now the minimum FPS I got in there was 45, the maximum was 115, and the average was 56. Now for a mid-range card, I think that's pretty damn good. Especially for Battlefield 4 at 1920 1080 with everything on ultra. Like, it was so playable. It was great. It was extremely playable. So all in all, with that being said, yeah, I got no choice apart from giving this card a massive thumbs up. It was fantastic. It looks great, it performs great, it does everything that you want a mid-range card to do. Like, I'm sure everyone out there would probably want to get extra performance and, you know, squeeze a few more frames out of Battlefield. But, you know, this is £175 if you were to buy it now. And to get that equal performance with something else out there at the minute, I think it's going to be quite tricky. So yeah, if you are looking for a mid-range graphics card to do everything that you need it to, I've got to recommend you the GTX 960 Gaming 2G by MSI. Like, it's awesome. It ticks every box that I have. And that's pretty much it. So thank you very much for checking out this review. And also a very big thank you to MSI for sending the card my way. You guys rock. Now if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, then make sure you hit that big red subscribe button. It's awesome. If you do, you can join the party and watch more videos and stuff like that. Also, if you like watching live streams, then check out the description below because there's a link to my Twitch channel. So click that link and then click follow, and then, you know, we can play some Counter-Strike together, some Hearthstone or something like that. It will be awesome, I promise. So until the next YouTube video or the next stream, I shall see you guys later. Stay fresh. So what did I think about the Scope SteelSeries gunners? Well, they are awesome. Now I'm not shy to gunners, this is the third pair that I've had, and I must say every single one I get, they keep getting better and better.
Checking out my internet. No, I'm trying to log into your router. I've just literally logged into your router.